Is it worth hiring a PI lawyer for your PI case? Well, frankly, sometimes it's not. There are some cases where it just might be hard to find a lawyer to take your case, or maybe it's best to handle the case on your own. And these cases are usually involving facts where either liability is very clear. Let's say there's a rear end accident, the person who caused the rear end accident got a ticket. There's really not much of an argument about who's at fault. So you probably don't need a lawyer to fight over that. Well, then you look at, okay, what are the damages? And really, damages just means how big a check is the insurance company going to write? Well, if the damages are small and they're based on small medical treatment, maybe a trip to ER or something like that, and then all symptoms are better, there's no long lasting injuries, no need for long lasting treatment, you know what your bills are, you're 100%. Hey, you know what? You might call up the insurance adjuster for the other side if they haven't called you yet, saying, hey, look, this other person's at fault. There's a police report that gave them a ticket. That's a no brainer. Hey, here's my medical bills, and I want pain and suffering on top of that. You may be able to handle that case yourself without having to give a personal injury lawyer a third or even more of your recovery. And so, for these small cases, it might make sense because there's no need to fight about who's at fault, and your medical treatment and bills are straightforward. Now, it gets a little more complicated when you have disputed liability, where there might be video from other angles from other businesses that needs to be gathered. Maybe there's witnesses that have to be interviewed. Cases can get complex proving who is at fault. And unless you happen to have a lot of those skills on your own, it might be worth hiring a personal injury lawyer to help you there. On the damages side, too, the amount of the check, it's also maybe important to have a professional if you don't get better right away. Let's say there is some sort of an accident and there's medical treatment and it continues and things aren't getting better and maybe you're not 100% and you're thinking, well, what do I do next? What sort of treatment might I need? What's going to happen in the future? How am I going to get compensated for that? Signals like that probably tell you, hey, you know what? It's probably a pretty good idea to talk to a PI lawyer because the downside of hiring a PI lawyer is they're going to take that third 40%, some 50%, or even more. So that kind of sucks. But on the other side, it's way better to pay 30% to somebody out of a big number than to get 100% out of a really small number. So, really, the telltale sign of whether or not you should hire a PI lawyer is, can you handle everything on your own and do you feel comfortable handling everything on your own? And if it's a yes, well, you might not need a lawyer. But if you've got questions and you're really not sure about it, and especially if something's going to go to the courts, you may want to hire a professional for that. The simplest thing is pretty much all PI lawyers are going to give everybody a free consultation, tell them, hey, you know what, I'll take your case, I won't take your case. Here's some suggestions for where we might go as far as a strategy. So if you're not sure if you need a PI lawyer, call a PI lawyer in your area. I practice law in the state of Nevada, so if you're not in Nevada, don't call me. I can't help you. It's called practicing law without a license.